everybody, I'm Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you how to make the buttered popcorn scarf. This is a lot of fun to make, and there's actually a matching hat on my channel already. So if you wanted to make a hat to match this perfectly, stitch by stitch, look in the video description below and I'll make sure that link is there for you. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm going to be using two balls of this yarn. This is the Paint Box Yarns. It's this Simply Aran. If you're looking for this yarn, you just look in the link below and there should be a link there for you. And each skein has approximately 201 yards, 184 meters. This is a 100-gram ball or 3.5 ounces. And again, this is 100% acrylic and it is a number 4 or a medium weight. You're also going to need 2 crochet hooks. The main hook was going to be the size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. And for those popcorns, we're going to be using a size K or 10.5 or 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. And as usual, I am recommending that you have a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. To begin, we're going to be starting with our size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. And we are going to work a slip knot. And then we are going to chain 219 chains. Since this is a very long chain, I do have one helpful hint that you can do. You can mark each, let's say 50 chains with a stitch marker. So in case that you do get interrupted or lose your stitch count, you can at least go back to know that you have 50, 100, 150, etc. All the way. You don't have to do this. This is just an option. After crocheting those 219 stitches, we are now going to work our first row, and we are going to do that by working in the second chain from the hook. We will work a single crochet in that stitch and in each chain across. I do work in the side of the chain. As you see here, there are two sides to like a V. I work on one side. That is my personal preference. Should you want to work in the back bump, you are more than welcome to do that. Although we will be working a perimeter around the entire side or around the entire perimeter of the scarf afterwards, so this chain will not be shown once we complete that. So go ahead and work those single crochets all the way across the row. After completing the first row, you might have a little bit of curling. I do a little bit at the beginning of my row. It's not a problem. That is going to be coming out after the next row or two. So now for row 2, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work row 1 of the low front ridge. And it's worked simply like this. We're going to skip the first stitch, but that's not going to affect our stitch count because we are only going to be working in the front loop. So working only in the front loop, we're going to work a slip stitch in each stitch across. Be careful not to work these too tightly. If you find that you're working them too tightly, you may want to bump up to the next size hook, but only if your slip stitches are too tight. But this row in and of itself should take out most of the curl that you see after row 1. So go ahead and work these slip stitches in each stitch, again, only in the front loop, all the way across. So after working that all the way across, we are going to turn, chain 1, and row 3 is actually row number 2 of the low front ridge. So this is row number 3 of the project, but in the low front ridge, it's row number 2 because we're going to be working this row 1 and 2 again. So for row number 3, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work in the remaining loop of that strand from row 1. We're going to work single crochet in the remaining loop. I just want to make sure that you can see where that remaining loop is. Right there. So if you find the single crochet, and then just find that first loop right there. So we're going to work single crochets all the way across the row. And then let me show you what that does. That's going to make this nice ridge here that's going to frame our arrow cable in just a little bit. So go ahead and work that single crochet all the way across the row. Now we're ready to begin row 4, which begins with a chain 2, and we're going to work a double crochet in the very first stitch of the row. Now we are going to begin the arrow stitch, and we do this by skipping the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a treble crochet in the next stitch, and then working behind the treble crochet, we're going to double crochet in each of the 3 stitches that we skipped. So you can bring this down in front, and then we're going to work double crochets in each of those 3 stitches that we just skipped. And that's what we're going to work all the way across the row. So I'll do this for you again. Skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and I've double wrapped my hook for the treble crochet in that 4th stitch. Working behind the treble crochet, you can pull this down, and we're going to double crochet in each of these 3 stitches. Make sure you do 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to do that for you one more time. Wrap our hook twice for that treble crochet, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and that 4th stitch we're going to work a treble crochet, and then working behind that treble crochet, we're going to double crochet in those 3 skipped stitches. Just like that. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. At the end of the row, you should have 1 stitch left. Work a double crochet in that last stitch. Now we're going to turn, and we're going to work row 5, which is row 2 of the arrow stitch. We're going to chain 2, work a double crochet in that first stitch. Now we are going to skip the next 3 stitches, which should be those 3 double crochets, and we're going to work a treble in the next stitch, which should be that treble crochet from the previous row. Now the only thing that's different is working in front of that treble crochet, we're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. I'm going to do that again for you. Skip the next 3 stitches, which are those double crochets, and then treble crochet in the next stitch. Working in front of that double crochet, we will double crochet in the 3 stitches that we skipped. So you do need to be careful that when we work the first of these 4 stitches, that it is a treble crochet, and then the 3 stitches that we're filling in these skip stitches are double crochets. Okay, I'll do that for you one more time and prepare for that treble. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, treble crochet in the next stitch. Working in front of that stitch, we're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that we skipped. Let's pause a minute and I'll show you what this looks like from the other side. So you should be forming arrows just like this as you go along this row. So go ahead and work the remaining stitches. Work this all the way across the row. At the end of row 5, work a double crochet in the top of that remaining double crochet of the row. And let's turn and see what we have. Now the next 2 rows are going to be very easy. This is going to be rows 6 and 7. We're going to chain 1, and we are simply going to work a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and work this all the way across, and then chain 1 and turn and work another row of single crochets. So go ahead and work 2 rows of single crochets. This is what you should have after completing rows 6 and 7. Now we're ready to work rows 8 and 9, which is going to be a repeat of the low front ridge, rows 1 and 2. I'll go ahead and start you on that. The chain 1, remember skipping that first stitch and working only in the front loop. We're going to work slip stitches all the way across the row. At the end we will chain 1 and turn, and for the second row we will come back and work in that remaining loop all the way across. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. This is what you should have after 9 rows. Now we're going to begin the popcorn, but the first thing that we need to do is we need to change our hooks to a larger hook. I'm going to be now using the size K or 10.5 or 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. And the main reason that we do this is so that the popcorn does not get too pulled. If you don't change the hooks and if you stay with the same hook, these next rows are going to be rather tight and they're going to pull inward on the scarf, and we definitely don't want that. Go ahead and chain 1, single crochet in that first stitch. Then we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip 1 stitch along the row, and in the next stitch we're going to work a popcorn, which is 4 single crochets worked in the same space. Once we work 4 single crochets, we pull up on the loop just a little bit, and we're going to reinsert our hook in the very first of the single crochets of this grouping, and then we're going to catch the loop like this, pull it through, and now make sure that the loop is not exceedingly large at this point, but just a normal size loop on the hook, yarn over and pull through. And the popcorn should generally pop at this point. It should protrude in this way. Okay, if not, you may want to redo this and try it again. Now after the chain 1, we're going to skip the next stitch along the row, and then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and in the next stitch after that we're going to work another popcorn. 4 single crochets worked in the same place just like we did before, and again pull up on the loop, reinsert the hook in the very first stitch of that 4 single crochet grouping, and then we grab that loop again and pull it through, yarn over and make a chain. And that is going to be the repeat across this row. I'll do it one more time. Skip the next stitch, single crochet in that next space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and then work another popcorn stitch. I'll work that with you. 4 single crochets worked in the same place, pull up on the loop, insert the hook into the first of the single crochets, and then pull through and give it a chain. So this is what you're going to repeat all the way across the row. So after working this across the row, we skip the next single crochet and single crochet in the next. You should have 1 stitch left. Go ahead and just work a single crochet in that stitch. You should have a total of 54 popcorns across the row. Now we're ready to work row 11, which is another row of the popcorn with the back side facing. We're going to chain 1. We're going to work a single crochet in that first stitch, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip the single crochet, and we're going to work a single crochet in the top of that popcorn where that chain 1 was formed to form the popcorn. Then we chain 1, and then the next chain 1 space, which is right here in between the popcorn and the single crochet, we work another single crochet, chain 1, skip the single crochet, and we make another single crochet at the top of the next popcorn. I'll do this for you one more time. Chain 1, single crochet in next chain 1 space, chain 1, and single crochet in the next chain 1 space, which is the top of the popcorn. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. At the end of row 11, just work a single crochet in that last stitch. Now let's turn, and now we are ready for row number 12, and this is going to be another popcorn row, but it's going to be done slightly different. It's going to be shifted a couple of stitches, and I'll show you how to do that. Chain 1, single crochet in that first stitch, chain 1, and now we're going to skip this single crochet, and we're going to single crochet in the next chain 1 space right there. Chain 1, and now the next chain 1 space, we're going to work that first popcorn of the row with the 4 single crochets. Pull up a loop, insert the hook into that first stitch of the 4 grouping, pull the loop through, and give it a chain 1, single crochet in that next chain 1 space, chain 1, and then popcorn stitch in the next chain 1 space. So we're going to be alternating a popcorn or a single crochet in these chain 1 spaces as we go across, just like we did 2 rows previous. But the difference is the popcorns need to alternate like this. So go ahead and complete that all the way across the row. At the end of this row, after you make that last popcorn, we're just going to work a single crochet in the last stitch, and just like 2 rows earlier, you should have a total of 54 popcorns in this row as well. So now we're going to turn, and we're going to chain 1, and this is row number 13, and it's very similar to row number 11. We're going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in that first chain 1 space, which is the chain at the top of the popcorn, chain 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet in the top of the popcorn, chain 1, and then single crochet in the next chain 1 space, and we're going to work that all the way across. At the end of row 13, we just work a single crochet in that last stitch. And let's turn and take a look at what we have. Now I'm going to give a small assignment. We are going to repeat rows 10, 11, and 12 one more time, and that would be a row of popcorn like row 10, and that row 11 is similar to the row that we just worked with, working single crochets in the chain 1 spaces and then separated by chain 1s, and then row 12, which is another row of popcorn. So once you finish, you should have 4 alternating rows of popcorn, but only do 3 rows. Again, repeat rows 10, 11, and 12, and then I'll show you what to do after that. If you need stitch support, go ahead and look across the bottom of the screen. I will put a time mark where you can go back in the video and re-watch these rows. This is what your popcorn should look like after completing 16 rows. Okay, now we gotta do something very important. We're gonna change our hooks back to the smaller hook. So I'm going back to the J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. Very, very important. Make sure you do that, or the rest of this is going to be kind of out of shape. Now we're ready to work the row that will discontinue the popcorn stitch, and this is row number 17. Okay, we are going to chain 1, which I've already done. We're going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to work 2 stitches or 2 single crochets in the top of that popcorn that was just worked. That's in the chain 1 space, and then we're going to work 2 single crochets in the next chain 1 space that's in between the popcorns, and then again 2 single crochets in the top of the next popcorn, 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space between the popcorn, and that's going to be your repeat all the way across. Once you complete this row, you should have a total of 218 single crochets. After working this across the row, just work 1 single crochet in that last chain 1 space and 1 single crochet in that last single crochet. Now we are going to turn, So after completing row 17, this is what the scarf should look like. Now I have an assignment for you for the next several rows. This is for rows 18 through 25. We are going to repeat rows 2 through 9. Rows 2 and the 3 again are the low front ridge rows, and then the 2 rows of the arrow stitch, the 2 rows of single crochet, and then 2 more rows with the low front ridge. So go ahead and work those. If you need stitch support, check the bottom right there. I will have a time mark where you can go back and review so that you can complete this section of the scarf on this side of the popcorn. So this is what your scarf should look like after completing the low front ridge arrows and 2 rows of single crochet and the 2 rows of low front ridge over that section. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, now we are going to work a perimeter round around the entire scarf, and I'll do the first leg of it with the chain 1, and we're going to work slip stitches working through both loops, not just the front loop but both. We're going to skip the first stitch and then the second one, just working through both loops, just not single crochet, slip stitch, slip stitch. I'll do this. That's where you stick the hook in, pull it through, no wrapping involved. Okay, so go ahead and work that all the way across to the corner, and then I'll show you what to work across the row ends of the scarf. After working these slip stitches all the way across, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work a single crochet in the same place where the last single crochet was worked. Now we're going to chain 1, and what we're going to do is we're going to work the single crochet, chain 1 evenly across the end. I'm just going to work this with you as I go across. The number is not so important as long as both ends have the same number. And this is because these chain 1, every other chain 1 space is going to be a place where we put our fringe or knotted fringe. And now if you don't want to work the knotted fringe and you just want to make this an even, just crochet, single crochets straight across evenly, and don't worry with the chain 1 spaces, and that, that'll give you an even, and probably a more even edging here. Or you could just work what I'm working now. You can always work the ribbing. I believe there is a video I will post in the video description below should you want to, add. There are actually 2 different types of ribbing you can add to the bottom of this. So just look for the video in the video description below. Okay, we're working our way all the way across this. Chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet in that last space there, and let's count how many chain 1 spaces we have. So I'm going to count the chain 1 where we turned the corner right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So we're going to have 16 chain 1 spaces worked across the row here. And since we're going to use every other one, we're going to use about 8 of them on the knotted fringe. Okay, so that'll mean 16 tassels. So now we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work slip stitches in each stitch across. Now you can skip the first one. Well, let's go ahead. I'll show you what it looks like. If you crochet a slip stitch in every stitch, this is what it looks like. And if we skip that first stitch, okay, so we're going to skip the first stitch and we go right for the second stitch. And we can see how that looks. Actually, I kind of like the looks of that better, so I'm going to just stick with that. I just wanted to show that to you because it can vary from design to design whether or not to skip that first stitch with the slip stitches or not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work these slip stitches, and you can see I am working in the foundation chain, and I am working over those 2 stitches, or at least going through them. And this is going to make the other end look very much the same. And I do believe this is going to take a lot of the curl that was there previously. Should take a lot of that out. Now I'm going to continue on, and then when I get to the row ends, I'm going to work the other row ends to make them look just like this with the same number of chain 1 spaces. Again, remember there should be 16, and then we'll join at the end. I'm working across the other end of this scarf. I'm going to go ahead and work my last single crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to turn, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the very first stitch of that row, and give it a chain and a tug, and go ahead and cut my yarn. Okay, so let me show you a really quick tutorial on how to hide your strands. I highly recommend you go ahead and hide these now before we add the fringe or whatever, whatever edging that you want to add. So I'm going to turn this so that the back side is facing. I'm going to go down into the stitch like so. And I think I'm just going to let's go down a little bit further into the work. There are many different ways to hide this. This is just one of many. And I'm going to run this. Oops, let's make sure we get it under the entire strand there. I'm going to run this under several stitches. And I do take my time on these, and I'm trying to be as careful as I can. You can, I like to run it under, I don't know, there's no hard and fast rule again about this. Maybe a good inch and a half is a good amount. I mean, I can go further, but I'm just going to stop it right there. Okay, I pulled that out, and I pulled the needle out, and I'm going to pull back on the stitches. Watch. Pull back a little bit, see how the yarn kind of goes back in just a little bit. That's kind of important. And now I'm going to trim that, and there you go. It is pretty well hidden, and you're not going to see that again, hopefully. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some strands for my fringe. You can look in a video description below, or I'll put a little note there as to where you can find that video if you've never cut fringe before. I have a little demonstration on how you can do that, and then I'm going to show you how to connect the fringe. Okay, I've added my tassels to one end of my scarf just to show you where we are heading with this. Okay, I ended up with 8 tassels across the end, and each tassel has 5 strands. Of course, those strands are doubled, and that's why it looks like 10. So let me just show you. And you'll notice that I haven't trimmed this yet. I still need to trim this and make it even. But also, you notice that the yarn's a little bit wavy. And if you want to straighten that out, I have a very simple solution. If you just take a handheld steamer, you can use an iron, the steam coming from an iron, as long as you don't touch the fabric with the actual iron, because that will melt the fabric. But you can just use some steam, and this will come out nice and straight. And of course, we're going to need to trim this. But let me go ahead and show you how to add the strands to the other end. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the strands that I have cut. And again, check out that video in the video description below on how to make fringe. And I go into a lot of detail as to how, to cut the fringe and so forth. So right now I'm just going to show you how to connect these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up as evenly as I can. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to trim these, but you know, you want to be in the ballpark. So let me put that aside. Okay, so I've lined these up pretty evenly, and I'm going to fold this in half and bring the ends down about even. Again, we're not going for perfection here because we are going to trim this once we're done. Okay, so now I'm going to put the first tassel in the first chain one space here. Notice the front side is up, and I put all the strands over that hook, and I pull them through like this, and then now put all the rest of this on top of that hook, and then pull them through and give it a gentle tug. Okay, you don't want to pull it too tight, but that you don't want to come undone either. That's about right. And so I'm going to do this all the way across, and let me show you. I'm going to be doing this in every other chain one space. So let's go ahead and line these up just like that, and then fold it over and to where I have that lined up as best as I can. Okay, so we're going to skip the next chain one space, or that would be just too crowded, and then go to the next one, which is right here. And again, the hook comes up from the back. Okay, pull all those through, yarn over, and then pull all of that through the hole down there. And you should see a knot like this. The thing you want to be careful of with putting the fringe on is that you don't connect it. So if the back side is going to look like this. So you just want to make sure that they all look like this on the front side. So go ahead and work those across. Now once we've completed putting the fringe across the bottom, we're just going to, or I'm going to decide to trim it just a little bit. And make sure that you're pulling these nice and evenly. And I have enough. I can take about up to 1 inch off the end. And let me just show you the difference. See? It just looks much neater. And once I steam this, it will be, of course, a little bit smoother on the yarn part. But I'm going to just go ahead and trim this, about 1 inch or so across the bottom. And see how uneven a lot of this is? Just trim it. Make sure that you have a pair of scissors that are sharp enough to cut the yarn nice and cleanly, because you don't want a pair that's just going to gnaw on it, because that's just going to leave it very rough looking. Okay? Very important that we have a sharp pair of scissors here for this. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the buttered popcorn scarf with me today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. And don't forget that there is a matching hat to go along with this scarf should you want to make one of those, and the link will be in the video description below. God bless. Bye-bye.